everyone, and welcome back to the Red Brick House. Today I want to share with you a project that I'm really excited about that I've been working on lately. And it is a patchwork style handbag, if you will. It is a little bit kind of a hodgepodge of different techniques for this handbag, so I really struggled with what I was going to name this video because it's a little bit patchwork, it's a little bit embroidery. It's a slow stitch project, and it's kind of a Kawandi inspired, I don't know, technique, I guess. So I really didn't know what to call it, but it's turning out really cute, and I wanted to share it with you. So I think the best thing to do is to flip the camera around, and I'm going to show you up close so you can see how I put this together and how I stitched it and how I did this. Okay guys, so I bought this pattern. I'm using this pattern to get the shape for this handbag. And I bought this pattern years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and I never made it. I even bought the fabric to make it, and I never made the project. So I guess it's kind of a long-term UFO, but I completely changed my idea of how I wanted to make it. So it's kind of a new project at the same time. But this is the pattern that I'm using. And so I took that pattern and then I put together kind of my scraps of felt that I've been trying to use up. If you watched my eyeglass video, I talked about using the things you have before you go out and buy new things. At least that's what I like to do. And I had all this felt, and so I wanted this bag to have a little bit of structure. I didn't want it to be like super floppy where you just sit it down and it falls over. But I didn't want it to be super stiff either. So I'm using just one layer of this acrylic felt, and I stitched it together to make the pattern. I laid the pattern down, and then I placed the felt on top of it, and then I stitched it together, and then I went and I trimmed off. If I had a little bit extra, then I would just go and trim it off. And so that's how I made this. Now, when I stitched it together, you guys, I'm not an expert at hand sewing. I can do it, but I don't know all the tricks and things that make things look really nice. So I just put these sides together. If you can see here underneath my lining, I just put these sides together and stitched really close to the edge. And for this project, it didn't really matter because I'm going to cover it up with the lining, and it's going to be covered up with the fabric. I'll show you here in a minute. And so I wasn't too concerned about it laying completely flat. But if you know a way, those of you who know better than I do, if you know a way to put two pieces of fabric together to lay flat and, it looks nice in here, if it's called a certain stitch, let me know. Shout it out in the comments because I need to know these things. You guys can help me be a better crafter by, suggesting these things. So that's how I put it together. And then what I did is I just went and cut my lining just like you would if you were making clothes. I just used that pattern and cut out the lining. This lining is an old sheet of ours that the elastic on the edges had worn out, and I like the color of it, and so I thought that'll be a nice lining for this bag. So it's kind of a recycled project here. This one is the one I'm working on right now. I have not finished this one either. You can see if I pull it down here so you can see I have not finished the straps yet, but I'm on my way, you guys, and I love it. I love how it turned out. Okay, so what I did is I just placed this fabric as I went. I didn't, a lot of times you can pin the fabric on there and design it the way that you want it to be. And then you can baste all those pieces on there, and then you can start your decorative stitch. But this time, I thought it might be fun if I just kind of designed it as I went. And that really kind of turned out interesting. And so I just started at this end. I'll even kind of turn it around. I started at this end down here, and I just placed my fabric here. I did not worry because I know I'm going to sew these together, and you probably won't see this edge, but I didn't want it fraying while I was working on it and moving it around a lot. And so what I did is I just did a whip stitch across the edge here and up the sides. So, you know, I don't like to waste a lot of thread, but you know how you get down to where you're like at the end of your row or something and you just have like this much thread left and you don't want to throw it away, but you don't want to kind of start a whole new row with just, you know, this much thread. So anytime that happened, what I did is that I just went up the side here. So we get to the end and I have a little bit left. Instead of taking it out of my needle, I just worked it up the side as far as I could. And that kind of helped utilize my floss a little bit better here. And so that's what I did there. And then all I did was a running stitch across here. So I just started with these. Where it met on the edges, I did fold it under to have a kind of a seam allowance there, so I wouldn't have ragged edges. But you could have frayed edges, you know, if you were using, I think this is all cotton. This might be a linen blend. I'm not exactly sure because it was just in like a fat quarter and it didn't tell me what the fabrics were made out of. But you want quite a nice seam allowance here. So I would just take the fabric. I'll show you up here where I've already pinned it. And what I did is I just folded it over. I didn't iron it. I just pressed it with my fingernail and I just pressed it down to give it a nice, you know, edge. And then I placed it on here and pinned it. Now this fabric, it came out to like right here, and then I just trimmed it up where I wanted it trimmed off. I'm also planning to do a whip stitch across here. I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking about doing kind of a binding edge here. I'm not really sure because I know it's going to rub, you know, on your arm and your shoulder while you're, you know, using it. So I'm not sure if this whip stitch edge will be great for that or not. I'm not sure, but we'll see what I do. An important thing is to have quite a bit of seam allowance though. I'm using about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm not really sure what that is in centimeters, but that's what I'm using. And also, these are things I've learned as I did this, is that you want to line up your new fabric kind of where you want your next row of stitches to be. You want to line it up so that wherever, like these, my rows, of course they're not even, and I didn't, you know, use precise measurements, but I just kind of eyeballed it and they just kind of went as they went. But these are about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch thickness between these rows of running stitches. And so if I had placed my fabric up here, like on this raw edge, then I might want to put my stitching right on this edge, and then the next row would be above where the seam allowance is, and then this could flip up and flip open on you. And so I learned that kind of the hard way. When I went across some of these, I wasn't paying attention, and then later I kind of regretted that because I realized that, oh, some of these didn't get tacked down as much as I want them to, you know. Or sometimes I placed them too close to the edge, like right here. So I'll notice that like this little edge will flip up like that. I'm not that concerned about it, but I could have done this, line this up better. And so that's what I'm kind of trying to do as I move forward. You know, when you start things, you learn as you go, right? And so that's what I'm doing. So I lined this up right here at the edge so that my next row of stitching can be right here. Wish I had a pin or something. Let me see if I can point to it. So my next row of stitching will be right here, and that assures me that I'm going to tack down this fabric so it doesn't flip up and come open. You know what I mean? Like that. So that's the plan. That's what I'm working on. And this has been so enjoyable to make and to watch it come together as you go. It's been a lot of fun. And so let me know if you're interested in trying something like this. I think it's really cool. I love the stitch work. I'm just using a, you know, cotton stranded embroidery thread or floss, however you might say it. And then I changed colors ever so often because I thought it was kind of fun to just kind of change the colors as I went. And some of these, like this one up here, this one is a variegated thread, And so sometimes they're light and sometimes they're dark, but that was all the same thread. And so I kind of like how that came across. And then I like how, you know, some of the stitches kind of blend in. Like you can even see these very well, but they show up really well over here. They just kind of pop out at you. I'm going to come back when I have finished this one and when I finish the other one. And then I will show you how I'm going to put it together. Okay, now I have completed both sides of my purse here, my handbag, and I'll just try to run it through the camera so you can see it, and then I'll flip it over. So here's, I don't know if I can do this. Let's see. Hopefully you can see the entire bag here. Now I'm going to turn it over. They look very similar. It's the same colors, a few different prints maybe that I used on each side. So you might see a few different prints on this side than what was on the first one. So I'll show you, try to show you here from the bottom up. Here we go. So very similar colors, very similar prints. And so now I'm ready to assemble this and put it together. I'm so excited to use this. I think it turned out beautiful. I love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put right sides together. This is what the back looks like after I finished it all up. So that will be the inside of the purse. So I'm going to put right sides together. And I'm going to attempt to hand sew this. I had thought about doing this finishing part on my sewing machine, but I think it's a little bit too thick to do that. And I don't currently have like a quilting foot or a walking foot for my sewing machine. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do it on the machine. I had originally thought that it would probably be a good idea to do it on the machine because then it might be very, I think it would be more sturdy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I'm going to attempt to hand sew it and we'll see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out or if I don't feel like it's strong enough, then I can always, you know, troubleshoot and do something different. So if you are a sewist or you have, you know, made handmade bags before, let me know how you put your bag together. Because I would love to know how you would finish this off. Because that might help me out some. Because I haven't hand stitched a lot of things in my life. I'm kind of learning this new process, and so I'm always learning, and I'm always welcome, you know, advice from other people that might have a better idea than I do. I think that's how we learn from each other. And that's fantastic that we have this platform where we can learn from people, you know, all over the world and see how everybody else does things. That's just so amazing to me. Okay, so I have it pinned here. I didn't mention that, but I am using these pins here, these quilting pins that are curved. I love these pins because they keep your fabric flat even though it's really thick. It helps so much. So my plan here is I'm going to start on this bottom edge. That's the edge that I want to be, you know, to be the strongest, because that's where the weight is going to be in the bag. And so I'm going to start here. I'm going to zoom the camera in so you can see better. But I'm using this. This is a super old thread, you guys. This was in my mom's stash. I have no idea how old this thread might be, but it feels like a cotton thread. It feels like 100% cotton thread. And I'm just going to take some out, and I'm going to double strand it. I don't mean that I'm going to use 2 strands, but I'm going to take this strand, and instead of threading my needle and then tying a knot in just the one end with 2 strands, I'm just going to thread this all the way through and bring the ends together and tie it that way. So let me see if I can thread. This is a tiny needle. This needle has a very small eye, which I thought might be good since this is so thick, that a small eye needle might be beneficial here. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert, but I'm going to try it and see. And also, this is a type of needle. It's just called sharps. And that's what I'm using to do this. Okay, so I'm trying not to tangle up my thread. And I'm just going to pull my 2 ends together here. Let me get them together. This color blends in almost exactly with this backing, so that's the reason why I'm using this one. And so I'm just going to take those, wrap them around, and pull through like that. That's how I make my knots. And that's how I'm going to do that. So instead of, like I said, instead of having 2 strands where you have, you know, the end of your thread up here, like when you embroider, I just brought the 2 ends together and tied a knot. That way I basically have 2 strands in here of this. And then that's my plan. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do kind of a running stitch, but I'm going to also include a back stitch. I have seen other people do this when they're making clothes and they're doing hems, like around the arms or something. They want it to be really strong. I've seen them do 2 stitches and then a back stitch, 2 stitches and then a back stitch. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do here, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to turn it this way, move my thread over, and I'm just going to go for it, you guys. I don't want a huge seam allowance here in the middle. Okay, so I got my thread attached, so I'm just going to go in here, and I'm going to try to come back up. It's really thick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, especially with this little needle without a thimble, because that's really going to hurt my fingers. Probably will have very sore fingers when I'm done with this, but it'll be worth it. Okay. Trying to make really small stitches. So I'm going to come in here. Hope you guys can see that okay. So that was one stitch. So I'm going to do another one. And I am going to try to keep them very close together and do small stitches. Okay. Then my next stitch will be my back stitch. Okay, now to do my back stitch, I'm going to go back to here, so it will be going over this stitch on this side, but I'm going to go into here. Hope you guys can see that. Into here. I think I'm doing this right. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's okay. I won't be upset because I need to learn. And I don't have anybody close to me that, you know, does this kind of thing that can teach me. So I'm just kind of watching other people on YouTube, and I might find, I love books, so I'd love to find a book. Okay, I'm going to come up right there. That's going to hurt my finger, but that's okay. My thimbles are somewhere. I think they're in my sewing box. I didn't get them out. So I'm just going to do it like that. And I'm going to go across doing that. I don't know if I'll keep the camera on the whole time because that might be boring. It's a lot of stitching. And I'm going to go slow with this because it is a slow stitch handbag. Make kind of a knot there. And I don't want it to be, I don't want to be rushed. Because, you know, this is part of the process. I want to enjoy this process too. So I may come back when I'm completed this row. But that's what I'm going to continue to do here. I'll make one more stitch. Then I'll do my back stitch. And then I'll just keep going. Okay, I changed my mind about how I wanted to finish this edge. So I did stitch it all the way across, doing the 2 running stitches and then the back stitch. And then, instead of making another row of stitches, I decided that I would do a whip stitch all the way across here. So here I am, I'm at the end, and I'm hoping that that will be enough. So I'm just pulling these around in the same direction, going through the back, coming through the front. Just, I don't know, maybe a couple of millimeters in between. I'm not really being precise, but I'm just kind of coming around here so that it will have a nice finished edge, and I think it will also reinforce it at the same time. I'm hoping so. Anyway, I'll probably be checking on this handbag ever so often and make sure it's, you know, that it's holding up well when I'm using it. And so here I'm just going to tie it off. And then we'll take a look at it. I'll open it up and we'll see what it looks like on the other side. Get that really nice and tight. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna open it up. And let's see how it looks. I'm gonna kind of press it flat with my hands, and I think that looks pretty good. I don't know how strong it'll be, but I think it looks good anyway. I'm probably going to do the same thing as when I do the sides. So that is that part. So now I'm going to start working on the sides. Like I said, probably just going to do it the same way. I'm going to keep my right sides together. I'm going to pin it together. I'll start with this side over here. And I'm just going to pin them together with my quilting pins here. But that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to keep pinning, and then I'm going to stitch this side the same way. I'll probably go ahead and do the other side, and then I'll come back and kind of flip it out, turn it right side out, and show you what it looks like. And so now all I have to do is the top here. I have the 2 straps here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them together right sides together. And I thought this would be fun to do on camera while I chat for a minute. I'm going to put right sides together, and then I'm going to pin it. And I thought I might chat. I'm gonna do the same thing here that I did at this side. And I was gonna chat a little bit with you guys about the April 8th solar eclipse that we had. So we, here where I live in Texas, we were in the path of totality. And I have never seen anything like that before. I have seen partial eclipses, but I've never seen a total solar eclipse. And let me tell you, it was phenomenal. So that day leading up to it, the weather forecast was saying that we were going to have cloudy skies and that we might not get to see it at all, which was like really disappointing. It was really, really disappointing. And then the day of, we actually had not so bad weather. It was cloudy, but in the morning, and then the clouds lifted a little bit, and we could see. It was really cool because you would put on your solar glasses and you'd look at the sun, and you could see the wispiness of the clouds going over the sun, but you could still see it. Now there were times when you couldn't see it, that it were thicker clouds, but at the time when the totality started happening, we got to see all of it without a ton of clouds. So it was just really, 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 oh, I did that wrong. Whoops, I messed that up. Let me try that again. See, I'm talking and I'm not paying attention. So I'm going to do the back stitch there, and we're going to do it there. Okay, I'm back on track now. It won't matter. But, so I live in town, and I wanted to be able to see it. I have a lot of trees in my backyard, so I wanted to be able to see it and not have to, like walk down the road or, and so my sister and I went out to my niece's house. And so I took my daughter with us. All the kids here were out of school that day, and a lot of businesses were closed that day. Even the city facilities, like the trash pickup and stuff, was closed that day. And we went over to my niece's house. We had a little party, I guess, if you will. We went over to her house because she lives in the country. And, she doesn't have houses right up next to her. That makes it hard to see. And I'm so glad we did. And I'm so glad she was so gracious to have us there. And so I took my daughter with us, and she got to play with her little cousins. And they played in the water. We had a water table and just little things for them to do. We had snacks and everything, and that's what we did. We sat outside and we watched it. And as it got closer to totality, we were like, okay, it's kind of dark, but it's not that dark, And we were like, I thought it would be darker. And so it wasn't until the grand moment happened that it got really dark, because it was like kind of dark, and then all of a sudden it started getting really dark. And I looked up. I had taken my solar glasses off, and I looked up because it was cloudy. You could see like what they call the Bailey beads, like right before it goes to totality. I could see it without my solar glasses because the clouds were covering it up. So you could see the sun through the clouds like with your bare eye. It was really pretty cool. And then I put my solar glasses on to see what it looked like, and you could see it just covering it up. And so I have some pictures I'm going to insert here. They're not the greatest pictures. I didn't bring my camera because I really wanted to experience it, just firsthand, and not be like, oh, I got to get this picture and that picture, and then not really even enjoy it. That's what I was afraid would happen if I did that. So I didn't. I just used my phone camera, and I took a couple of pictures that turned out pretty well. They don't do it justice as in person. It was so much more brilliant in person. But it was just really phenomenal to see that diamond ring. It was beautiful. So if you ever had a chance, let me know in the comments if you saw it too, or if you've ever seen one in the past, or if one's coming to you soon. These happen, quite frequently. I read that every year, in that year, 1 to 2 years, there's a solar eclipse, total solar eclipse somewhere in the world. I thought that was really cool. The last one that happened in Texas was in 1878. So this is quite a once in a lifetime event, and I'm so thankful that I got to see it and that I didn't even have to travel anywhere to see it. That was really amazing. And so, yeah, and it was, oh, one more thing that was kind of funny. I'm going to go through this one more time just to make it really strong, and then I'll do the whip stitch. One more thing that happened that was really cool is that my niece has chickens. And we were kind of watching them to see what they would do. And when it started getting darker and darker, you could see them. They kind of clustered under the trees because they're kind of free-range chickens. And they clustered under the trees, and they were just kind of like, what's going on? You could see them just like kind of looking around, kind of confused. And then as it did get quite dark, they did go over to the chicken coop, and they were kind of like, let me in. So it was really interesting to see that. Happen. Okay, so now I'm going to do a whip stitch across here. So I've just been doing that, and I'm just gonna go from the back over the top, and I'm gonna do that all the way across the top of here. Because I do want this to be, I think this needs to be equally as strong as the bottom. I don't plan putting anything like really heavy in here. And I was thinking, I wanted to use this as a purse. But I was thinking, this would make an excellent project bag. It's a great size for a project bag. And so that's another option. The only thing I won't use it for is like a grocery bag or a book bag, because then it probably could get quite heavy, and I don't want to put a lot of heavy things in it. And so that's how I'm finishing this off. I'm so excited to be able to use this bag. I think I said that before. I've had to record this video in multiple times because, you know, it takes time to do all this stuff. It is a slow stitch handbag, and so if I repeat myself, if I forget that I've already said that earlier in one of the other clips of videos I made, I apologize. Or I may try to edit it out if I can. I also am really working hard on my films when I'm making things like this. I don't notice it until I go to edit, but I notice that I mumble a lot, or I mutter and like kind of like muttering to myself, and it's really not important information, but people can't hear me. Oh, I couldn't hear myself. I noticed that when I was editing my eyeglass video and some of the other videos. I'm really trying to be mindful about that and to talk with my voice all the same, you know, volume. And hopefully I'm going to get better at that. I apologize at that. And I don't have the wonderful editing skills because I knew nothing about editing before I started making YouTube videos. So I don't really have the great editing skills to, you know, bring up volume here, even out volume there. You know, I'm just not that good at it, guys. So I apologize, and I'm just always trying to get better at these things. It has definitely been a learning experience, this YouTube thing. Because I knew when I started out, I didn't know much about cameras. I didn't know much about, you know, filming or editing or any of that stuff. And so, I mean, it's been fun. And, you know, it's good to learn new things. It keeps your brain busy, especially as you get older. I'm starting to get older, and I always want to keep my brain busy and learning new things and doing new things, so that hopefully it helps my brain. Okay, so now I'm going to tie this off. And I think this is it. We're going to turn it right side out. It's kind of a jumbled mess here. It's a good thing this bag is not reversible, because it might not look that great from the back side. Okay. I'll go through one more time, just for good measure. And here we go. I'm going to cut it off. And boom! I think we're done. Let's see. Okay, let's see how it looks. All right. Okay. Let me move this stuff out of the way so I don't knock it on the floor. Okay, so now I'm gonna uncover it. I may have to move my camera around a little bit so you can see the whole thing. But I'm gonna try to flip it inside out. Oh, this is gonna be so pretty. I might iron it, but I don't know. I might just finger press it out, or use a pencil here in a minute or something to really get those edges out and get these seams, you know, pressed out. But I think it might be, I can just use my hands to do it, hopefully. Okay, so let me do the bottom. Oh, it's so nice, you know, when you work on something like this and it takes you a while to do it, but then when you get it finished, you just look at it and go, you know what, I made that. I made that from nothing, from just fabric. And I created my own fabric and created this, and that's really accomplishing. Okay, let me get the other side done. I'm probably going to take lots of pictures of this. I think more of these are probably going to be in my future. Oh my goodness. Whoops, hope I didn't bump the camera there. Okay, let me turn it around. Okay, so it's still kind of folding in, so I'll have to fix that later, but I may have to take an iron to it or something. Okay, so here it is. I'm gonna try, nope, wrong. I'm gonna try to zoom out as far as I can. That's about as far as I can get. So I'll move it up, hopefully so you can see all of it. And I'm just gonna kind of pull it through here slowly so you can see the whole bag. And then I'll take some pictures too of when it's finished. Okay, let me fix the strap here because it's kind of messed up. Okay. There it is. Here's the strap that will just go over your shoulder. It's kind of a wide strap, this pattern, but I like it. So there's the strap, and here's the connecting part that will go right over your shoulder. And then back down this side. Oh, I love it. I am absolutely happy with this. So let me know what you think. Do you like this idea of this bag? Do you want to make one for yourself? Let me know. I want to know all the things. So let me know if you would have made it this way, if you would have made it differently. I think it's really pretty. I'm really happy with the colors. Of course, it's like all the colors that I like, you know, and that's kind of the fun thing. When you make something like this, you can completely tailor it to your own liking. You know, when you go in the store, I don't know, I go in the store sometimes and I'm like, oh, I like that, but maybe if it was in a different color, or, you know, or, oh, I like this pattern of this dress, but I don't like the print. You know, when you make things, you can be your own thing. It's like completely tailored to yourself, because you can pick out exactly the print you want, exactly the fabric you want, and you know you're gonna love it because you picked it out, you know. So anyway, I'm gonna end the video here. Like I said, I'm gonna probably take some pictures of this and insert them at the end, along with the solar pictures as well. And let me know what you think about this. If you liked this video, if you liked watching me do this, if you'd like to make one too, let me know in the comments. Please give me a thumbs up if you think I earned it. Subscribe if you'd like to. I have a lot more projects coming your way, and I'll sign off and say goodbye. I'll see you next time.